grandsons had once been stolen from him. Fortunately, Remus had an unusual birthmark behind his knee, and one afternoon Numitor saw it. He suddenly realised who Remus was, his long-lost grandson. Meanwhile, Romulus had raised an army of brave shepherds who marched to the palace, broke down the door, seized Amulius, chopped him into bite-sized nuggets, and threw him in the moat. When the shepherds released Remus, he told them that he and his brother were heirs to the throne. The whole city cheered, held a 3-day party, and offered Romulus and Remus the crown. But they refused. "Our grandfather Numitor is the rightful king," they said. "He shall rule here. We will set off and found a new city." So their mother, Rhea Silvia, brushed a tear from her eye, packed their lunch boxes and kissed them goodbye. And off they went, accompanied by the shepherds and a few scruffy runaway slaves. After several days, they came to 2 hills. One was called the Palatine Hill. "We'll build our city here," said Romulus. The other was called the Aventine Hill. "No, we'll build our city here," said Remus. And they began to argue. Romulus dug a trench and Remus filled it in again. Remus laid some foundations and Romulus walked all over the wet concrete in his big boots. Romulus built a brick wall and Remus kicked it over. This was too much for Romulus. He picked up a rusty shovel, hit Remus on the head, and Remus fell down dead. "We shall build my city here on the Palatine Hill," announced Romulus. "And what is more, we will name it after me. It will be called Rome, and we shall be known as the Romans." But there was one small problem. "We're all men," said the shepherds and the scruffy runaway slaves. "You can't start a city with all men." "Then I'll fetch some women," Romulus replied, and straight away he marched down into the valley and captured all the women who lived there. He brought them back to Rome and made them become Roman wives, even though some of them were extremely annoyed. From above, Mars looked down on his son's city, and he loved it. He would make it the most powerful place in the land. And that's how Rome began. Well, at least, that's what some people say. The Sons of Mars, Part 1. By 300 BC, the city of Rome had built up a powerful army. Roman men reckoned they were as good at fighting as Romulus's dad, Mars, the god of war, so they called themselves the Sons of Mars. They were incredibly proud of their army, and you can't blame them. It was a lean, mean fighting machine. If it had been a football team, it would have been Chelsea, Man U and Barcelona combined. It would have won the league, the cup and the Champions League, not just once, but for centuries. Insults across the sea. So Rome went to war, and once it had taken over all the little kingdoms around it, it started eyeing up massive places further afield. One of the most powerful was Carthage, a city on the North African coast, just across the other side of the Mediterranean Sea. Rome hated Carthage, and Carthage hated Rome. But for a long time, neither was strong enough to crush the other. So they just sort of glared at one another and shouted insults. "Crazy Hannibal!" Then a new young general took command of Carthage's army. His name was Hannibal, and he wasn't going to take any more Roman aggravation. He decided not just to attack Rome, but to invade it. But rather than popping across to Italy in a few boats, he sailed to Spain. Then he marched his army through Spain, across France, and over the Alps, the big mountains that divide France and Italy. This came as a bit of a shock to the Romans, who didn't expect anyone to be crazy enough to climb over a massive range of snow-covered mountains to get at them. But that's exactly why Hannibal did it, not because he was crazy, okay, well, maybe a bit, but because he knew the Romans wouldn't be expecting it. War elephants! The army Hannibal took with him over the Alps included more than 30 elephants.